When was the last time you traveled from one country to the other and you did not use a flight, you did not use a train, or you didn't go by road?
Welcome to Bintan.
The whole idea is you arrive in Singapore 10 minutes to the ferry terminal and the 55 minutes ferry. And can you imagine you're within the same hour you are there? Because you don't lose any minute because there is a time difference of 1 hour between Singapore and Indonesia.
I think it's one of the easiest entries into any country that I have seen. Can you tell us a little bit about, this, I would say, resurgence of Bintan that we've seen?
I always like to tell people when you come to Bintan, there's always three things. That is the sun, the sea, and the sand.
Because when you're looking at a holiday, what do you want? You want nature, you want relaxation, and maybe a little bit of culture along with that. When you want to add on a beach destination, this would fit in perfectly. I've also heard that Bintan has some amazing natural landscapes, and there's also a desert and a blue lake.
This is something which is, when you say unthinkable of Bintan,
Welcome to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. Every week, it's a pleasure to come and speak about different destinations. And today, we're going to speak of a very special destination, and I'm so excited to talk about it because we have not one but two guests with us, and they've actually flown in all the way to be here on the podcast. So I'm very happy about that. Please join me in welcoming Rakesh Khetrapal, the MD of Pacific Trails in Singapore. Welcome, Rakesh.
Thank you, Sunila. We are happy to be here and we feel it's going to be an exciting conversation and whoever will hear it will want to come to Bintan, what we are going to talk about.
And also, please join me in welcoming Mr. Abdul Wahab, the CEO of Bintan Beach International Resorts.
thank you, Sunila. And it is our pleasure of being here to be with you. And we hope that we can work together in promoting the destination of Bintan Island.
No, definitely. And you already have a fan here because, sometime back when Rakesh suggested that we should visit Bintan, and during ITB Asia, we took this opportunity. And all of you made this wonderful itinerary for us. I think the only thing I can say is we left wanting more. We felt like one more day would have been just perfect out here. So before we start speaking of Bintan, I want to ask our guests who are listening that when was the last time you traveled from one country to the other and you did not use a flight, you did not use a train, or you didn't go by road? Because this is one country where you're actually traveling from one country to the other, but you're using a ferry and you reach there in an hour. That's amazing. So, Rakesh, as someone who's been living in Singapore, and we're speaking of the Bintan Islands of Indonesia, doing two countries in one trip is just amazing. But why is it so easy to get to Bintan from Singapore? Like, why does it make it so simple?
Connectivity wise, yes, it makes so much sense that if you come to Singapore, yes, the access is from Singapore to reach Bintan, but you don't really need to enter Singapore to go to Bintan, actually, as you've seen
Right.
yourself. The whole idea is you arrive in Singapore 10 minutes to the ferry terminal and the 55 minutes ferry. And can you imagine you're within the same hour you are there? Because you don't lose any minute because there is a time difference of 1 hour between Singapore and Indonesia.
Right.
So you leave 9 a.m., you reach 9 a.m.
That's amazing. That's
Exact-
amazing. And I think there's an important point there, what you said, that if you've been to Singapore 50 times, you can go the 51st time, not even go to Singapore, but go straight to Bintan from the airport to the ferry terminal to Bintan and even fly back, right?
Exactly.
But,
Same way you can fly back
And the
as
visa
well.
is really easy.
Exactly. And the visa is on arrival. The best part is the
Perfect.
visa is now on arrival. So, and the way we made it possible now is that even the visa on arrival process has been so simplified that you actually give the passport to our representative. They'll process your visa and they'll give it to you before you leave the ferry terminal. So literally you are crossing immigration without flashing your passport to anybody. You just walk through.
That's really amazing. I think it's one of the easiest entries into any country that I have seen. Wab, we had the chance to meet you in Bintan, and as the chief operating officer, I've seen all the amazing things that you've been doing in Bintan. Can you tell us a little bit about, this, I would say, resurgence of Bintan that we've seen? Because many people were going to Bintan Island earlier, and then there was kind of a temporary pause, I would say, that, it was not that attractive to people. But now it's booming and it's just beautiful. So tell us a little bit more about what's been happening in Bintan and all about it.
Perhaps before I can explain more about Bintan, I always like to tell people, when you come to Bintan, there's always three things. That is the sun, the sea, and the sand. So this is something which is you can find in Bintan. We are just next to Singapore, as what Mr. Rakesh has already mentioned. We are actually situated in an island which is western of Indonesia. I think a lot of people know Bali. Bali actually eastern. So to make it simplified, those who are coming to Singapore can come to Bintan by ferry, just like 1 hour away. And what is Bintan is all about? Bintan is Bintan is a privately owned island. Perhaps we among the biggest resort in the world, privately owned. I think we have total number of room more than 3,200 keys. We have 21 hotels situated in Bintan. The hotel are from 4-star, 5-star, and also boutique. So it is what I call, you will be pampered, okay, when you come to Bintan. As I mentioned about the sea, we have very good, very good clear waters. The sand, a white sandy beach. I think we have 105 kilometer long beach. This is actually the biggest.
Wow.
So, and then this what I call the sun is always there, so you need not to worry about the weather. And the most important part about Bintan as well, the culture of Bintan, the people of Bintan. Mr. Rakesh already mentioned about how easy to come to Bintan, and the people of Bintan.
And really welcoming.
They're very warm. They're very warm.
I like what you said, Wahab, like sun, sea, and sand. And I think these are probably the three most important things on a holiday. Because when you're looking at a holiday, what do you want? You want nature, you want relaxation, and maybe a little bit of culture along with that, depending on what you want to do. So when we are combining a city like Singapore, and even though Singapore is also an island, we don't relate the beaches to it. It does have beaches, of course, if you go to Sentosa or whatever. So I think when you want to add on a beach destination, this would fit in perfectly. But how different is it to Singapore? Like, of course, you have the skyscrapers and the other things in Singapore. So this question is actually to both of you, because as someone who's living in Singapore, probably Bintan's your first escape when you're looking for fresh air. And as someone who's building up Bintan, I think you know exactly what complements Singapore. So how different is it to Singapore? And two different things that a person can enjoy in one holiday if they combine Singapore and Bintan?
Actually, it's two different worlds within an hour away from each other, where Singapore is all skyscrapers and all humanly curated attractions, humanly curated buildings and everything. And what we get in Bintan is all tranquility, the sand quality that Wahab just mentioned. I mean, the highest grading of sand has been rated in Bintan. If people who know about beaches and the sandy beaches, the sand in Bintan is quality of sand is rated at 8.5, which is a very high grading. It's so powdery, so when you're walking on the sand also you feel so comfortable. I mean, you asked a question, how do I feel living in Singapore? Every time I want to run away from Singapore for something, where do I go? Bintan. I would have probably done 1,000 trips to Bintan already. So, and I was wondering why we've not done so well with Bintan from India. And what Veena World has given us the opportunity to come and talk about it, I think this destination needs to be talked about, because it gives you everything. So it's amazing to see these two different worlds. And in Singapore, everything is prim and proper. You're suited. The moment you go to Bintan, you are in your shorts and t-shirts and hats and everything. So it becomes an
You're actually right, because even when I came, I had two bags. One was my Bintan bag and one was my Singapore
bag.
And just coming to Bintan, I felt like I could breathe, deeply and in peace. So that was amazing. So Rakesh was just telling us Singapore is all skyscrapers and Bintan is all natural beauty and the beaches and all of that. And I know that there are also mangroves and many other activities that you can do in Bintan. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think you are right. When you come to Bintan, it is perfectly different from Singapore. Singapore skyscrapers, and ours offers the natural beauty of an island. Right? You can see a lot of greeneries, and our resort envisaged to become what I call a green resort, as you can see, and we preserve the greenery of the island. If you can see that within the 20,000 hectares of land, if you're talking about 20,000 of land, perhaps if you understand Singapore, it's about 50 times bigger than Sentosa Island. And then what we wanted to do to develop the resort only up to maximum 40%. The rest we keep it as green as possible. We wanted to keep the fauna and fauna as it is. Besides, just now you mentioned about mangrove. Yes, we do have a mangrove. A lot of people actually come to Bintan, perhaps people, not those from Southeast Asia, but people from Japan, people from Europe, even people from China. They come to Bintan, they wanted to see the mangrove. They wanted to see the beauty of mangrove that along a line of the rivers. And then you can see at night, you can see firefly. In the daytime, you can see a lot of birds and things like that. So, of course, you can see a lot of what I call the natural habitats of Bintan, such as monkeys or what I call iguanas and things like that. So these are the things which you can't find in Singapore, of which I think this can be an attraction for people who want to see the nature. Beside Bintan Resort, we're also exploring the nature just outside Bintan Resort. If you intend to go hiking, you can actually climb what we call is a Gunung Bintan, actually a mountain of Bintan, which is you can go up and down within 3 hours. A lot of actually students go there, they go hike up and then come down, rappelling and to see the waterfall. So I thought that is something which is that's something which is you can't find in Singapore. So Bintan will always be natural because that's what we want. And also you will never see a lot of cars like in Singapore. Wherever you go in the sea, unlike some other resort, if you go to the beach, you find a lot of people in the beach. A lot of people wanted to sell something. People want you to do hairdo. But in Bintan, we actually really leave you on your own with your family, peaceful and tranquility. So that is something which is we want to offer, different from many other resorts, which you can find in other places in Southeast Asia.
No, really. And, I go back to the sand quality because when we were there, I remember it was so difficult to stay away from the beach. And I think every morning we would get up and go and walk on the beach and just enjoy even a leisurely walk. There were not too many people. There was the waves out there. It was just beautiful. So I think children would really enjoy that. It's a perfect family destination. And like you mentioned, hiking, whoever thought of that you could actually go to Bintan and also do hiking. But there are also other adventure sports that we can do here, right, Wahab? Like someone who's a fan of adventure will always find a lot to do in Bintan, water sports and other things.
To answer to your question, beside these what I call outdoor activities, we do have a lot of other sporting activities. We have 4 golf courses, all signature golf courses. Wow. We have Ian Becker, we have Gary Player, and we always organize event. We're going to have a PGA actually this year. Oh, wow. And beside that, we have been organizing sporting activities such as a marathon, triathlon, In fact, triathlon in Indonesia is started from us way back. We already organized for 26, 27 years. And the what I call the tranquility and also the peaceful of the place, which is make Bintan a very good destination for outdoor activities and sporting activities.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you find that peace of mind that you look for on a holiday pretty much in
Exactly.
Bintan. With all these sports that you mentioned, from marathon to hiking to all of the others, one of the most popular things to do there, of course, is the water sport. But that brings me to how most Indian travelers like to travel. And a lot of times these are families, multi-generational families. There are kids, there are parents, there are grandparents, or it's a group of friends. And no two people are the same. Someone likes to be very active, someone likes to relax, someone else likes to do something else. But a lot of times, Wahab, when you put Indians even on a beach destination, after the first day, they'll say, okay, what do I do now? I've done my relaxation on the beach. I need to do something else now. I would like to know more about the people here, more about the culture here. And there are quite a few cultural tours also that you can take here. There are some different places that you can visit, and you could actually spend an entire day being out looking at different things, temples and, other stuff. So tell us about that.
Yeah, you mentioned about the temple. Yes, we do a temple with 1,000 terracotta. You will go there, you see each god have different faces. Okay, you will never see 1,000 of them.
Yeah.
Okay, they are within Bintan. Well, not Bintan Resort particularly, but you have to travel out. And then you can go to an island called Penyengat Island. We call it a King's Island. This is where actually the king of Bintan or the king of Riau Archipelago are started. So you can find a lot of culture. In fact, if you were to go there, you will see that there's a lot of inheritance of Indians, what I call customary, like the Malay wedding. The
Yeah.
Malay wedding actually almost similar to the Indian wedding. They draw themselves their hand with henna, right? They call it
Yeah, henna.
henna. So
or
all these,
mehendi, yeah.
all these actually come from the Indians, what I call a culture, and Bintan itself are actually a junctions between India to China. So we are in junction. So you find there's a lot of interesting what I call historical background of Bintan. So culture. We are connected. We are connected to India. We are also connected to China, and of course, predominantly what I call Bintan people are actually Malay or Indonesians. So you can also still see the sea gypsies. Okay, sea gypsies. These are already extinct in Southeast Asia. These people, if you go to a village, they don't stay in the land. All of them actually stay in a small boat. Yeah, and they were born there. They go to school from there. They get married there, and after that, they end their life also there. So these are the inheritance that you can still find in Bintan, which you can find back in Singapore. So that is so diverse, and then you can learn a little bit of history of the past.
Yeah, and that is why I think it fits so perfectly well with a holiday in Singapore and Bintan. And in spite of spending 3 days there, of course, we were also checking the hotels and other things, and we were there for work. But we didn't get time to go to this temple to see the terracotta, to see the statues, or to do other things. The South Bintan Heritage Tour, I
Yeah.
think. So there's always something for next time, and I'll be back to do that for
Absolutely.
sure. But Wahab, tell me, along with that, I've also heard that Bintan has some amazing, the whole archipelago has some amazing natural landscapes. And there's also a desert and a blue lake. Like, it's just unthinkable that something like this, because you're on the top, in an island, you're surrounded by water, but you still have sand. That's right, isn't it?
Yes, I think this is something which is, when you say unthinkable of Bintan, I think within the lush, what I call jungle, you find a desert. Okay, this is a place where you're actually good for photo taking. Yeah, when you are there, you find this what I call this desert left over actually from a quarry. We keep it this way, and that's belong to us anyway.
Okay.
Belong to Bintan Beach International Resort,
Yeah.
but not within Bintan Resort. And then you will find what I call a Crystal Lagoon there. Okay, a lagoon with a blue color, and it is very nice place where you can actually take picture, and actually you can also do sporting activities. You can either do what I call ATV, all-terrain vehicles. You can do there,
Okay.
and then you will also be able to see eagle. People do eagle fly, something like what you can see in what I call in whether it is in Dubai, okay, is almost similar. So yes, this is to add into your stay in Bintan, outside Bintan Resort. Okay, to add color to your trip to Bintan.
Right, and get back some perfect Instagram-worthy photos and pictures that
That's right.
you can share with the whole world, and I'm sure people will be convinced that they need
It's
to
a
get
heaven
to
for
Bintan.
Instagram
Yeah.
friendly generation who love to click good natural pictures and keep sending it to their loved ones. It's an amazing place.
Right. And that was actually my next point, Rakesh, because the hotels there, and as someone who's booking those hotels, you know that when people come, there's someone who's looking for luxury. Someone else wants to be with the family. Like we actually chose for a 2-bedroom pool villa because we wanted time together. We didn't want a hotel where, typical hotel where you go from one room to the other. But, you know, when you come back after the day, this is where you have that little extra space. And then, of course, there are the corporates and the weddings. So there seems to be a hotel for everyone in Bintan.
Absolutely. And we have brands. We have the Movenpick opening soon. We have a Holiday Inn. We have Indigo. We have a 4-point Sheraton. We have everything for every budget. We have the pool villa properties that you stayed in, the Panta Inda. We have Banyan Tree. We have Club Med. You talk about it, and we have a property for everyone. Sports lovers, we talked about only the sea sports. We have 4 golf courses that have been designed by internationally famous golfers, Jack Nicklaus. I mean, where do you get the number 1 golfer in the world? Even today, there is no one who has won more PGAs than him. So we have everything available
Even for
there.
someone looking for luxury, you have the Banyan Tree, the Residence, Sanchaya.
Exactly.
So all these options are available.
Absolutely.
So tell me, like, if someone's planning a corporate tour or if they're planning a wedding, because destination weddings are quite trendy right now, and it's really a lot of fun. We had a wedding in the family recently, and we really enjoyed it. So if someone's looking for that, is there some special experience or something out of the world that you can set up in Bintan?
Well, you hit the nail on the head because we organized a wedding of 850 people from India. We chartered the ferries from, and they only did Bintan. We took people from the airport at the ferry points. Ferries were chartered. We took 850 people there, and 3 weddings under 1 mandap. And we actually converted the entire, we took every key at Bintan at that time, and we used up for our guests. And something that we could offer, they were there for 4 days, and we didn't repeat a meal venue. Every venue was a new venue, whether it was lunch or a dinner. We gave different venue every day. And one day I was in Singapore and my team called me up and said, "Boss, it's raining." And I thought 850 people to take care of, wedding happening, and it's raining. And I took a ferry and I reached, and what do I see? All 850 guests of ours were dancing on the beach.
Nice.
We had set up some DJs and everything, and they were all dancing. Eventually, later on, when everyone left, we had big puddles and the garden was deep. But the wedding crowds enjoyed it because they were getting food of their choice. we created for one evening for the Sangeet, we created a floating deck which could take 400 people. We load tested it ourselves before we allowed any guests from the wedding to get onto the floating deck. So we created special floating deck just for 400 guests. So wedding friendly, absolutely. And this is the biggest wedding we've done, but we have done so many other smaller weddings. In fact, two of the hotels had their own chapel inside the hotels for those who want to do a wedding ceremony inside a hotel. We have two hotels which have a chapel.
Wow. And I'm sure for those who are looking for a corporate or an incentive tour as well, this would be a perfect complement to Singapore.
I would say we've done almost about 20 to 30 corporate groups every year. And I'm talking of the size of 150 to 200 guests and above. And we have so much to offer to them. And the best part is, if you are in Singapore, a lot of times I attend those functions as a service provider, and I find 20 guests are missing from a conference, a serious conference which has been organized. And where are they? Or they are exploring Singapore, or they are meeting their relatives. You go to Bintan, not one person would be missing. They are all there in the conference
They'll
venue.
walk together and they'll party
And
together as well.
Then in the evening, you party together. So you have every possibility. I mean, we are talking about a destination which has at least 5 function rooms, which can take 400 to 500 guests at any given time, breakaway rooms. You talk about anything. And we are now building a 5,000 persons capacity convention center, which will be ready in less than 2 years' time. So we have everything happening for the serious business activities and meetings.
So it's a perfect mix of work and play as well.
Exactly.
So, Wahab, we've been speaking of Bintan and there seem to be so many reasons to get there. What would you say would be an ideal time to spend there? Like how many number of days and nights? Of course, if you can, then a week or 2 weeks would be great, but not everybody would have that kind of time. And when is the best time to be there? Like when should people come and visit Bintan?
I think before I answer that, I just like to add what Mr.
Yes,
Rakesh
sure.
mentioned about the wedding. We have so many other venues to organize wedding. You actually can organize your wedding by the beach. You can organize your wedding at the golf course. This is already being done. And I think we also have a place we call a Crystal Lagoon, which is actually the water body actually was intended to be to make it as a swimming pool. It's water, it's a sea water. We have people actually do their wedding on top of the water. They put what I call a crystal, what I call a transparent glass.
Yeah.
You actually walk on the water. So
my
this
God.
is already done.
I
So-
don't think I've heard of this anywhere else.
I think this is something which is great
Very
that
unique, yeah.
people never think of. You know, yes. Coming back to what you mentioned, what is the best time to come to Bintan? If you were to ask me, I operate Bintan. I said 365 days are all good days, depending on what you want. Okay, if those who want to have big wave, do windsurfing, then you come from December, January, February, which is actually now. We have a wave of almost 2 to 3 meters. You actually can do windsurf. Okay, you can do that. Not just going to Bali alone. In Bintan, you can do that. But if you want to have a good weather, okay, which is sunny day, that is going to be from March to November. So anytime, that's why I say depending on what you want. Some people who wants to go there to see the rough sea. So you can go there during that time. But for normal people who wants to celebrate their wedding or wanted to
Just a
organize the
nice
wedding,
holiday.
okay, and then the best time to come actually from, as I mentioned just now, from March to November. This is the best time to come to Bintan.
And that just perfectly fits in with Indian holidays, like
Absolutely.
our school holidays are mainly April, May, June.
Yeah.
So it's, I think, the next best family destination that you could think of when you're thinking of Bintan. You mentioned food, and I think it's time to talk of the food now. We enjoyed some amazing food, and of course, let's talk of the seafood lovers first, because I think for seafood lovers, Bintan is the perfect place. And what was it called? A kilong?
The
The
Kelong.
kilong. Tell us about that, Wahab. Like the
If,
food in
if you were
Bintan.
talking about food, yeah, I'm talking, if you're talking about food in Kelong, you don't eat fresh food, but you eat live food. That's the difference.
Freshest food.
Yeah,
Yes.
you eat live, not fresh. 'Cause when you talk about fresh, it's already put in the freezer and
yeah.
things like that. But if you're talking about seafood in our Kelong restaurant, a seafood restaurant, actually it was live, bring into the pans, cook and serve you in the table. If you were there, my personal recommendation, you try chili crab or black pepper crab. Okay, this is among the best, what I call a dish that you can find. On top of that, you can also find sea snail, which actually we call Bintan escargot. Okay, which is very unique. That this snake, so not snake, this sea snail is only found in Bintan Island. The reason why this sea snail only live in very good clear water, clean water. They don't live in dirty water. So of course, most of the food there are recommended for people to have. If you don't like seafood, you can also have other food within Bintan Resort. You can have, we have an Indian restaurant in Bintan. We have we already mentioned that we have Western food you can find. So beside Western food, you can also find the Indonesian food. If you, I mean, you'll be spoiled with food when you come to Bintan. All sort of food that you can find, including Japanese, Koreans, whether you want to have a Jain and also vegetarian food. It all can be organized and also available in Bintan. So it's marvelous, and I mean, you can enjoy all sort of food in Bintan, even though we are in Indonesian island.
Yeah, we met the Indian chef at an Indian restaurant as well, and I was just pleased to see how much vegetarian food was available there. But of course, when you have the option of a keelong, then I didn't look at the vegetarian food. And eating the snail was an experience. You know, I can only thank both of you for coming down here and speaking so much about Bintan. As we come to the closing of the episode, is there something you want to say to our guests? Wahab, you first.
As I mentioned, the sun, the sea, and the sand, that is something which is we wanted to offer to people to come to Bintan. When I say the sand is pristine beach, white sandy beach, and we say the sea is clear water, and the sun is there all the time. Unlike if you go to Europe, you know, sometimes you go, you can't find the sun. So these are the three main things which I thought that it will be an interesting and also something which we can offer. The three items which I mentioned also is something which is vibes for those who are actually coming to Bintan. And the people are so friendly and easy accessibility, visa not a problem. And we look after our guests as though they are us.
Nice.
That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Wahab. But before we end this, Rakesh, I want to actually ask you this, because we've been hearing and seeing so much about Bintan, and we've seen it turn into this beautiful place that all of us want to go to, and I'm sure that our listeners want to go to. But the man behind this story, I would like you to talk about and tell us a little bit more about Wahab and how this has all happened.
See, when the Bintan resorts were conceived as a location, it was a jungle. And not many people would have ventured into doing what happened there. We are talking to Wahab, the man who created Bintan as it appears today. Sure, there were government-to-government deals between Singapore and Indonesia as to how to develop this piece. But there was one man who stayed in a container for 3 years to develop the first resort property there, with ensuring how to get the building materials and how to get the kitchen stuff and how to get everything there. He stayed in a container for 3 years to get this done, not scared of, not having anyone around to look at. And imagine, we today are talking to Wahab, the CEO of the Bintan resorts, but this man was a policeman at one time. His background is as a policeman, but today he runs a hospitality business, which is now being talked about by everybody. 23 hotels, all the big brands are coming in. The hardships or the effort that he put in to make this happen is what made me interested to talk about Bintan to the world. Personally, I got so interested in it when I started interacting with Wahab, the kind of hospitality he gave it to us. And the wedding that we previously just talked about, this wedding was to happen on a cruise, 850 people wedding. And my partner in India called me up that we are doing this wedding on the cruise and can you come and do some local arrangements for the wedding? I said, well, I'll do that, but why don't you come with me to Bintan for a day trip and I will show you this location. You want to do a destination wedding, I'll do it differently, I'll take you there. And I called Wahab up and I said, I want to do this. Wahab himself came to the airport, received this team, took us to Bintan. We had agreed that we'll do a day trip. We stayed there 2 nights and finalized the weddings there. It only could happen because the kind of hospitality on a 2 hours notice a man could pull through. So Wahab can make impossible things possible.
And I'm so happy that he's on our podcast today. Thank you so much to both of you. And I think the discipline and the hard work, along with the warmth and the hospitality you bring across, I think it's a representative of all of Bintan, Wahab. So thank you again for being here. And to our listeners, from adventure to natural beauty, whether it's the mangroves, whether it's the greenery, the blue waters, the crystal lake, the sand dunes, the temples, the terracotta warriors. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. Not to mention the different kinds of accommodation, wedding venues, corporate venues, or just go and relax on the beach, walk on the beach and do nothing and just have great food. Bintan has it all. So sun, sea and sand. And that was Bintan for all of you. Thank you so much for being here, Rakesh and Wahab. Thank you again and see you all next time. Until then, bye-bye.